There's a man who says he knows where Lilly and Jack Sullivan are. His name is Darren Gettys. He's a distant relative of their mother. And after the children vanished, he started appearing on YouTube true crime shows, making explosive claims. Claims so serious that police got involved. Claims that ended up in official court documents. But here's the problem. When police asked him to explain his theory, he became confrontational and evasive. He has information, he says, but he won't tell them why he believes it. And that's where the story gets absolutely wild. Before we dive into who Darren Gettys is and what he claims to know, make sure you're subscribed to Forensic Disconnect. This rabbit hole goes deep, and you're going to want to follow along. Let's start from the beginning. May 2nd, 2025. Lilly and Jack Sullivan are reported missing from their rural home in Nova Scotia. Within days, the case explodes on social media. TikTok, YouTube, Facebook groups, Reddit communities, everyone is talking about it. True crime channels start covering the case. Theories start flying. And in the middle of all this online chaos, a man emerges claiming to have inside knowledge. His name is Darin Geddes. According to court documents, he's a cousin of Patty Pearson, who is Malehia Brooks Murray's grandmother. So let's map that out. Malehia is the children's mother. Patty Pearson is Malehia's grandmother. Darren Gettys is Patty's cousin. So he's a distant relative on the maternal side. Not immediate family, not someone who lived with them or saw them regularly, but connected enough to the family tree that he'd have some knowledge of family dynamics, tensions, and history. After the children disappeared, Gettys started making waves online. He didn't just lurk in comment sections. He actively participated in true crime discussions. He appeared on YouTube live streams, particularly on a channel called It's a Criming Shame, hosted by a woman named Sunny Austin. This channel, which has about 18,000 subscribers, does regular live streams about high-profile cases, and the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case became one of their main topics. But here's where it gets interesting. Gettys didn't use his real name on these platforms. He went by the pseudonym Durwood O'Grady. Now, why would you do that? Why use a fake name if you're just sharing theories like any other true crime enthusiast? Why hide your identity? There are a few possible reasons. Maybe he didn't want to be associated with controversial statements. Maybe he wanted to maintain some privacy while still inserting himself into the conversation. Or maybe, and this is speculation, he wanted to be able to say things without immediate consequences. According to police documents that were later released, Malehia Brooks Murray told investigators that Gettys uses the name Durwood O'Grady on social media. So family members knew who he was. Police figured out who he was. The pseudonym wasn't fooling anyone who mattered. But to the thousands of people watching these live streams, he was just Durwood, another voice in the crowd. Except he wasn't just another voice. On these live streams, Gettys made some bombshell claims. According to court documents filed by the RCMP, specifically an affidavit sworn by Corporal Charlene Jordan Curl of the Northeast Nova Scotia Major Crime Unit, Gettys claimed to know information about the disappearance of Lilly and Jack. Not that he had theories, not that he was speculating. He claimed to know. The court documents state that Gettys suggested in social media posts that Malehia Brooks Murray may have been involved in their disappearance. That's not a small accusation. That's accusing the mother of being complicit in, or responsible for, the vanishing of her own children. The documents are very careful to note, however, this is his theory. It's not proven. It's not confirmed. It's just what Darren Gettys believes. But the claim didn't stop there. And this is where it gets really explosive. Gettys also suggested that he might know the location of the children. Not that he suspects where they might be. Not that he has a hunch. He suggested he knows their location. That's a direct, specific claim. If you know where two missing children are and you're not telling police, that's a serious problem. That could be obstruction of justice. That could be a crime. So what exactly is Gettys claiming? Based on his appearances on YouTube live streams and posts that have been documented, his theory appears to be this. Malehia put the children in a vehicle and sent them away before reporting them missing. He's suggested the children might be in New Brunswick, Canada's neighboring province. He's claimed they're being taken care of somewhere. Safe and sound, as he's phrased it in some posts. Think about what that theory implies. It implies premeditation. It implies that Malehia Brooks Murray, the mother, orchestrated the entire disappearance. The 911 call at 10:01 a.m. on May 2nd? Fake. The frantic search? Theater. The interviews with media? All part of a cover. According to this theory, Lilly and Jack didn't wander into the woods. They weren't abducted by a stranger. They were deliberately sent away by their mother to an undisclosed location where they're being hidden. That's an enormous accusation. If true, It would mean one of the most intensive investigations in Canadian history has been looking in completely the wrong direction. It would mean hundreds of searchers spent days combing through forests for children who were never there. It would mean Malahia has been lying to police, to media, to her own family for 8 months. That's not just a theory. That's an accusation of a calculated, elaborate deception. But here's the problem. Every piece of evidence we have contradicts Gettys' theory. Malahia Brooks Murray underwent a polygraph test. According to court documents, she was found to be truthful when answering specific questions. Now, polygraphs aren't perfect. They're not admissible in court, but they're used as an investigative tool, and police took the results seriously enough to note them in official documents. Police have also thoroughly investigated Malahia's movements. They've obtained her phone records, including records from a messaging app called Text Plus that she used to make calls after the children disappeared. They've reviewed her banking records to look for unusual transactions. They've analyzed her GPS data. They've checked surveillance footage from the area. They've interviewed dozens of people who knew her. And as of the most recent court documents filed in July 2025, police stated, "I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offense has occurred." That's significant language. If police believed Malahia had orchestrated the disappearance, they'd have reasonable grounds. They'd have evidence. They'd have something. But the official position, at least as of July, is that they don't believe a crime occurred, which suggests they believe the children wandered off. Tragic accident, not foul play. If Malahia had put the children in a vehicle and sent them to New Brunswick, there would be evidence. Financial records showing payments to whoever is supposedly caring for the children. Phone records showing coordination, text messages, emails, surveillance footage of a vehicle leaving the property with the children inside. Witnesses who saw the children after May 1st. But there's none of that. Police have found nothing to support the theory that the children were deliberately sent away. So why does Darren Gettys believe this? What information does he have that led him to this conclusion? That's the question everyone wants answered, and it's the question police asked him directly. On May 30th, 2025, nearly a month after Lilly and Jack vanished, 2 RCMP officers met with Darren Gettys, and this is important to note, he reached out to them. He wasn't a reluctant witness being tracked down. He contacted police and said he wanted to provide information about the disappearance. He initiated contact. He said he had something important to tell them. So the officers met with him. They sat down. They were ready to listen. And then, according to the police report, something strange happened. When the officers started asking questions, Gettys became confrontational and evasive. He didn't want to answer their questions. Instead, he turned it around. He started demanding that police provide him with information about the investigation. He wanted to know what they knew, what evidence they had, what leads they were following. Think about that dynamic. You reach out to police saying you have information. They show up ready to take your statement. And then you refuse to provide details and instead interrogate them. That's not how cooperating with an investigation works. That's not the behavior of someone trying to help find missing children. That's the behavior of someone who wants to be part of the story, but doesn't actually have anything concrete to offer. According to the police report, Gettys has not provided context as to why he has this theory. He says he knows something. He says he believes Malahia was involved. He says he thinks he knows where the children are. But when pressed to explain why he believes this, what led him to these conclusions, what evidence or information he's basing it on, he won't say. He just deflects, becomes confrontational, and demands information from police instead of providing it. So let's think about this. What are the possible explanations for Gettys' behavior? There are really only a few scenarios that make sense. Scenario 1, he genuinely has information but he's afraid to share it. Maybe he overheard something from a family member. Maybe someone told him something in confidence. Maybe he's worried about legal consequences if he speaks up. So he's dropping hints, making vague claims, hoping police will figure it out without him having to directly implicate anyone. But if that's the case, he's doing it wrong. Because vague hints don't help investigators. They need specifics, names, dates, locations, concrete information they can follow up on. Scenario 2, he has suspicions based on family dynamics, but no actual evidence. Maybe he knows Malahia and Daniel had problems. Maybe he knows there were tensions in the home. Maybe he heard rumors or saw things that made him suspicious. And in his mind, he's connected dots and convinced himself he's figured out what happened. But suspicions aren't the same as knowledge. And he can't provide context because there is no context. It's just a gut feeling that he's presenting as inside information. Scenario 3, he's seeking attention. This is harsh, but it's a real possibility. True crime communities are massive. Channels covering high-profile cases get millions of views. People who insert themselves into these cases, who claim to have inside knowledge, who become characters in the story, they get attention. They get followers. They become known. And for some people, that's intoxicating. They want to be the person who cracked the case. They want to be the insider, even if they don't actually have anything. Scenario 4, and this is the darkest possibility, he's trying to manipulate the investigation. Maybe he has a grudge against Malaya. Maybe there's family drama we don't know about. Maybe he's trying to deflect attention away from someone else. Or maybe he's just trying to muddy the waters, make the investigation more complicated, waste police resources. If any of that is true, it's not just unhelpful, it's actively harmful. So which scenario is it? We don't know. And that's frustrating. Because Gettys won't clarify. He won't provide the context. He just makes claims and then clams up when pressed. Now let's talk about the secret recording, because this is where the story takes another bizarre turn. On June 21, 2025, Patty Pearson, who is Malahia's grandmother and Darin Geddes' cousin, had a phone conversation with him. A normal family call, presumably. Except Pearson did something unusual. She recorded it, without telling him. According to court documents, Pearson held her home phone on speaker and used another device to record a video of the conversation. The court documents specifically note, it is unknown if Darren Gettys knew he was being recorded, which suggests he probably didn't. Which means this was a covert recording. Someone in the family decided that whatever Gettys was saying needed to be documented and handed over to police. 5 days later, on June 26th, Pearson took that recording to the RCMP detachment in Bible Hill, Nova Scotia. She brought a USB drive, a SanDisk cruiser glide, containing the video recording of the phone call. She handed it to investigators. They seized it as evidence. They analyzed it, and they included it in their official court filings. In an affidavit, RCMP Corporal Charlene Jordan Curl stated, "I believe information provided in the recording could assist with locating the children by identifying further investigational avenues for police to pursue." Let's break down that language. Police believed something in that recording was worth investigating. Not that it definitively proved anything, but that it could assist, that it could identify investigational avenues. That means Gettys said something in that call that police thought was substantial enough to follow up on. But what did he say? That's the million-dollar question. The actual content of that recording is not in the public court documents. We don't know what theory he presented to his cousin. We don't know what specific claims he made. We don't know if he named names, mentioned locations, or provided any concrete details. All we know is that Patty Pearson thought it was important enough to secretly record and hand over to police, and police thought it was important enough to seize and include in their evidence. Here's what's fascinating about this. If the recording was just more of the same vague theories Gettys had been posting online, why would police bother including it in court documents? They wouldn't. The fact that they did suggests there was something new in that call. Something specific. Something that warranted further investigation. But what? Some online theorists believe Gettys named someone in that call. Someone he thinks is caring for the children in New Brunswick. Someone Malahia allegedly coordinated with. But if that's true, why hasn't anyone been arrested? If Gettys provided a name and a location, police could follow up. They could check it out. And if they found the children, this case would be solved. But the children are still missing. So either Gettys didn't provide specifics, or police checked and found nothing. Other theorists think Gettys revealed his source in that call. Maybe someone told him this theory. Maybe he didn't come up with it himself. Maybe there's another family member, someone closer to Malahia, who believes this and told Gettys. And maybe revealing that source is what made the recording valuable to police. But again, if police knew who the source was, they could interview that person. They could verify or debunk the theory. And yet, no arrests. No public announcements of major breakthroughs. Just silence. Here's another angle. What if the recording revealed how little Gettys actually knows? What if, in a private conversation with his cousin, Gettys admitted that he's mostly speculating? That he doesn't have hard evidence, just suspicions? That would be valuable to police too. Not because it helps find the children, but because it allows them to deprioritize this theory, to focus resources elsewhere, to stop chasing a lead that's based on nothing. The truth is, we may never know what was said in that recording unless it becomes public through trial proceedings or a future document release. And that's infuriating, because Gettys has inserted himself into this case in such a public way, making such explosive claims, and we can't evaluate those claims because the details are hidden. Let's talk about Gettys' presence in the online true crime community, because it's not just one appearance, he's been active. Sunny Austin, the host of It's a Criming Shame, has mentioned him multiple times in her live streams. The paternal grandmother, Belinda Gray, watches these live streams. She's even become friends with Sunny Austin. And Daniel Martell, the stepfather, engages in the comment sections during live streams. This creates a weird dynamic where family members are essentially participating in public speculation about the case. And Gettys is right there in the mix under his pseudonym, making claims. At one point during a live stream in September, the discussion turned to the announcement that police would be bringing in cadaver dogs, and Daniel Martell posted a comment that caught everyone's attention. He wrote, "I should release all the information I brought to major crimes that would point fingers. It's undeniable and I hold back." That comment sent shockwaves through the true crime community. What information does Daniel have? Information that would point fingers at who? Why is he holding it back? If your stepchildren are missing and you have undeniable information that would help the investigation, why wouldn't you release it immediately? That comment fueled even more speculation. And it shows how these online communities can become echo chambers where theories are amplified and everyone starts suspecting everyone. Now, in that same online ecosystem, Gettys is making his claims. And people are listening. They're analyzing his every word. They're trying to figure out what he knows. And that attention feeds back into the cycle. The more attention Gettys gets, the more he participates. The more he participates, the more theories spread. And round it goes. But here's the thing. For all the noise, for all the live streams and comments and theories, Lilly and Jack Sullivan are still missing. 8 months later. No arrests, no charges, no bodies found, no children found. Just theories and speculation. And a man named Darren Gettys who claims to know something but won't say what. Let's consider the impact of all this. The online speculation, the accusations, the conspiracy theories, they're not harmless. They affect real people. Malahia Brooks Murray has been accused by thousands of people online of being responsible for her children's disappearance. Based on what? Based on the claims of a distant relative who won't provide evidence. Based on body language analysis. Based on the fact that she and Daniel stopped speaking. None of that is proof. None of that is evidence. But in the court of public opinion, she's been tried and convicted. Daniel Martell has faced similar treatment. He's been compared to Chris Watts, Susan Smith, Diane Downs, all convicted family annihilators. People make compilation videos showing his body language next to these killers, claiming to see similarities. He's been accused of lying, of hiding something, of being responsible. And yes, he passed a polygraph test. And yes, police have thoroughly investigated him. But online, that doesn't matter. People have decided he's guilty. And what about Belinda Gray, the paternal grandmother? She's watching all of this unfold. She's seeing her son, Cody Sullivan, the biological father, get accused in the early days because Malahia suggested he might have taken the children, even though he was quickly cleared, even though he had a solid alibi. But the accusation spread. And now she's watching online communities tear apart her grandchildren's family based on speculation. Lawyers have started warning people about the legal consequences of posting unsubstantiated theories online. Defamation is a real thing. If you accuse someone of a crime without evidence and that accusation damages their reputation, they can sue you. And in a case this high profile, with this much online attention, it's only a matter of time before someone crosses the line far enough that legal action is taken. There's even a website now, missingpeople.ca, that has an entire page dedicated to debunking misinformation about the Lilly and Jack Sullivan case. They call out fake fundraisers. They debunk false claims like the children were found alive in New York, which was a complete fabrication that went viral on TikTok. They warn about AI-generated thumbnails showing fake mugshots or crying children designed to get clicks. They explain how this kind of content wastes police resources, reduces the credibility of genuine tips, and inflicts trauma on the families. But despite all the warnings, the speculation continues, because people want answers. And when official sources aren't providing them, people fill the void themselves. They create their own narratives. They develop their own theories. And sometimes, those theories take on a life of their own. So let's circle back to Darren Gettys. After everything we've discussed, what do we actually know about him? We know he's a distant relative of Malahia. We know he appeared on true crime live streams under a pseudonym. We know he made claims about knowing information and knowing the location of the children. We know he suggested Malahia was involved. We know police interviewed him and found him confrontational and evasive. We know he was secretly recorded by another family member, and that recording was given to police. We know police thought the recording could assist the investigation. And we know that, despite all of this, 8 months later, the case remains unsolved. What we don't know is whether Gettys actually has any real information. We don't know what he said in that recorded call. We don't know what evidence or reasoning supports his theory. We don't know if police have followed up on his claims and found them baseless, or if they're still investigating. We don't know if he's a key witness or just another online conspiracy theorist. And that ambiguity is the problem. Because in the absence of clarity, people assume. Some people assume he's telling the truth, that Malahia did send the children away, and that police are covering it up or incompetent for not finding them. Other people assume he's full of it, seeking attention, and that his claims are baseless. Both camps are convinced they're right. Both camps point to the same facts and come to opposite conclusions. Here's my take. If Darren Gettys had solid, concrete, actionable information about where Lilly and Jack Sullivan are, this case would be solved. Police would have followed up. They would have checked every lead. They would have pursued every avenue. And if the children were in New Brunswick being cared for by someone, they would have been found by now. The fact that they haven't been found suggests either Gettys doesn't have real information, or his information has been investigated and didn't pan out. But that doesn't mean he knows nothing. He might know something about family dynamics. He might have insights into tensions within the family. He might have heard things that are relevant to understanding the circumstances around the disappearance, but knowing something is not the same as knowing where the children are. And that's a distinction Gettys hasn't made clear. What frustrates me and what frustrates a lot of people following this case is that Gettys could end this ambiguity. He could sit down with police on the record and provide every detail he knows. Names, dates, locations, reasoning, context, everything. If he did that, police could verify or debunk his claims. The public would know whether his theory has merit, and resources could be allocated appropriately. But he hasn't done that. He's made vague claims, been evasive in interviews, and let the speculation run wild. And maybe that's the point. Maybe he doesn't want to be definitive because being definitive means being accountable. If you make a specific claim and it turns out to be wrong, you look foolish. Or worse, you look like you've wasted everyone's time. But if you stay vague, if you hint and suggest without committing, you can always walk it back later. You can say, I never said for sure, I just had theories. That's the luxury of ambiguity. But here's the problem. Lilly and Jack Sullivan are real children. This isn't a game. This isn't content for live streams. 2 kids are missing. Their family is destroyed. And every false lead, every baseless theory, every moment wasted chasing something that isn't real is a moment not spent finding the actual truth. So here's my question for you. Do you think Darren Gettys actually knows something? Or is he just another person who's convinced himself he's solved the case? And if he does know something, why won't he just come out and say it? Drop your thoughts in the comments, but please keep it respectful. These are real people dealing with real tragedy. If you found this deep dive valuable, make sure you're subscribed to Forensic Disconnect. We're going to continue covering this case as new information emerges. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss updates. And remember, if you have real information about Lilly and Jack Sullivan, don't post it online. Don't call a YouTuber. Call the RCMP directly. That's how cases get solved. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.